many refugees has Poland taken?
0.
And you're proud of that?
If you are asking me about Muslims illegal immigration, none, not even one will come to Poland. Not even one if it's illegal. We took over 2 million Ukrainians who are working, who are peaceful in Poland. We will not receive even one Muslim because this is what we promised.
Have you ever seen a politician who genuinely wants to improve his country? It's a serious question. Someone who loves the country they represent and is proud of the policies they advocate for. Somebody so fiercely committed to making his country safe and his people happy that he doesn't care for the usual political niceties. He's not there to rub shoulders with the elites, climb the ladder, or avoid questions with slimy politician talk. When asked a direct question, meet Dominic Tarczynski, a man who does just that. The best thing about him is that he totally shuts down anybody who goes against him with simple logic and facts. In this video, you're about to witness 20 minutes of Tarczynski being absolutely based, from calling out the left for their failed policies to presenting facts and figures that completely dismantle their arguments. Tarczynski has been a one-man army in the immigration debate. He's never backed down, and he's always been ahead of the curve. So sit back and get ready, because you're about to see Dominic Tarczynski take on his critics in a way only he can.
Syria, I want to go through this wall. I break through the wall. What happens to me next?
You're killed, dead, shot. You will die like a dog.
In our first clip, Tarczynski goes straight for the jugular, confronting his critics with hard data about Poland's success.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear leftists, I'm very happy to take part in this debate about democracy in Europe. So let me give you some example of very major democracy in Poland, over 1,000 years of tradition of Polish nation. Polish nation rejected you, dear leftists, 8 times. 8 times in a row you have lost elections in Poland. So get used to it, because you're gonna lose again. That's number 1. Let me give you some data about Poland and Polish democracy. The lowest unemployment in European Union is Poland. The highest GDP after COVID in European Union is Poland. One of the lowest debts in European Union is Poland. So don't give us this rubbish about the need of educated immigration, as we heard yesterday. We don't need your doctors. We don't need your engineers. Take them all and pay for them. We don't need them. You know why? Because there's 0 terrorist attacks in Poland. Why? Because there is no illegal migration in Poland. So don't give me this look. Don't give me these arguments about the populism, because this is a fact. This is your data from Eurostat. So we don't need your engineers. We don't need your doctors. Take them. Do not teach us. Do not teach us about democracy, because we know what the democracy is. So learn from Poland. Be like Poland. Thank you very much.
He wastes no time making it clear. Poland doesn't need to follow the EU's model of educated immigration. Why? Because the country is thriving without it. 0 illegal immigration means 0 terrorist attacks. Tarczynski's unapologetic approach continues in the following clip, where he doubles down on the EU's rule of law mechanism. He calls it a political tool, nothing more than a way for the EU to impose its will on nations like Poland. And once again, he turns to data to prove his point.
Thank you, Madam President. Obviously, this mechanism is just a political tool, so I'm not going to get into it, because everyone knows that this is a political tool that has nothing to do with the rule of law. So I'd like to give you a message from the majority of Polish people. The message is very clear. It has been out loud 7 times in a row. Polish nation rejected your ideas. Polish nation rejected your ideas of leftism. So you have lost 7 times. Mr. Biedroń would confirm, you have lost. Polish society rejected you 7 times. So to let you know, Poland is number 1 with unemployment. Poland is number 3 with management for women. And Poland is number 1, Eurostat, it's your data, not ours, is number 1 as the safest place in Europe. So before you're gonna judge, just before you're gonna point us with your finger, maybe you should think about Sweden and the rapes on women by illegal migrants. Maybe you should focus on Germany, which is #1 with all these crimes coming over from illegal migrants instead of Poland. This is real democracy, and this is not our data, this is Eurostat. Thank you.
In this next clip, things get personal as Tarczynski takes on Mehdi Hassan, a well-renowned Muslim journalist who accuses him of being selective about which immigrants Poland accepts. The accusation: Poland's okay with white Christian immigrants but rejects Muslim refugees. Watch as Tarczynski shoots this argument down, explaining that it's not about race or religion, it's about safety and legality.
Dominic Tarczynski, thank you for joining me on Upfront. You're an MP and an MEP-elect for Poland's Law and Justice Party, which was recently re-elected to government and which is often criticized for being anti-immigrant, anti-refugee. But actually, you're not anti-immigrant or anti-refugee. You're okay with white Christian immigrants from Ukraine. You've taken around 2 million of them in. You're just not okay, it seems, with brown Muslim refugees from the Middle East. White people fine, brown people not fine. There's a word for that, isn't there, Dominic?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. It has nothing to do with your color. It has nothing to do with the religion. I keep repeating it for the last 4 or 5 years. It's all about safety and the common sense. It's not about Ukrainians who are allowed to come to Poland. It's about illegal migrants who wants to cross our borders. And if you're brown, white, yellow, or whatever, if you want to cross our border illegally, you're not allowed. We are reacting.
Well, first of all, plenty of people are coming into Europe legally as asylum seekers. You have a legal right to asylum from places like Syria. But you say it's not about religion. You said, quote, we will not receive even one Muslim because this is what we promised. You didn't say illegal immigrants. You said we will not receive even one Muslim.
It has nothing to do with the Muslim religion. It's not Islamophobia, as someone's trying to tell us. It's all about this moment and this fact that at 2015, Angela Merkel started this madness. And now this is a problem about Muslims mainly coming to Europe. I'm surprised they are not going to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, or any other rich Muslim countries. They would feel much better, isn't it?
They are not going to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, or any other rich Muslim countries. They would feel much better, isn't it? His refusal to be cornered by emotional arguments is simply and majestically a masterclass in maintaining composure under fire. Now, in the following clip, as Mehdi Hassan continues to throw fireballs, Tarczynski addresses the idea that Poland is undermining European values by refusing to take in more refugees. But here, he counters with a clear and consistent message. Poland isn't responsible for fixing Europe's migration crisis. While many in the EU may want to focus on quotas and numbers, Tarczynski points out that those very systems have failed even their biggest supporters, like Germany and France.
You say Angela Merkel and her madness. I mean, Angela Merkel followed the law. The EU has law. There's a refugee convention. There's a universal declaration of human rights. The EU Advocate General, which advises the European Court of Justice, found this week that your country broke EU law in 2015 when Poland refused to share the refugee burden. So it's your country, your government, Dominic, that's undermining European values, European laws, not immigrants, not refugees, not Muslims.
No, not at all. This judgment was not about Poland only, it was about Hungary and others. And also, this judgment, this sentence was about all countries which did not fulfill the expectations. You have to remember that the quota system which failed was very clear about the numbers. So even Germany and France did not receive as many as they should. For us, that was very clear. In 2015, we promised that we will never agree for the quota system, and our promises are kept. The whole migration crisis, it's a global thing. Europe is not responsible for what is happening in Syria. Poland is not responsible for what is happening in Iraq, in Syria, in other places. We never had any colonies. So if this problem is a global problem, where is Saudi Arabia? Where is Qatar? Where are the other Arab countries, rich Arab countries, which should help? They can help. Mecca is a great example. 100,000 tents used only once a year during the pilgrimage. 4 million people can take this shelter and live there for a year.
They're empty. Nice, beautiful tents, air-conditioned tents. They are empty.
Well, you do realize that tiny Lebanon's taken in over 1 million Syrians. 1 in 5 of the population in Lebanon is a refugee. Turkey has more Syrian refugees than any country in the world.
Hassan doesn't stop here. He accuses Taczynski of hypocrisy. He argues that Poland's refusal to accept Muslim immigrants mirrors the way Polish immigrants are treated in other countries, specifically the UK.
I would say it's hypocritical that you don't want Muslims in Poland because
No,
let me finish my
places
question.
where the Sharia is present.
Let me finish the question. Many would say it's hypocritical that you say you don't want Muslim immigrants in your country because they commit crimes, there's a security threat, and yet you hear exactly the same rhetoric about Polish immigrants in the UK from right-wing politicians and media there. They say the Poles are groping women, they're feckless, they're criminals, they won't integrate. Don't you see the irony or the hypocrisy of treating Muslim immigrants to Poland in the same way that some Britons treat Polish immigrants?
Okay, how many Poles blow themselves up in London or any other place in the world? That's the question I keep repeating.
There is a lot of crime carried out by Polish immigrants, according to the right-wing press.
Kill themselves and others because of their religion or hate.
Dominic, your argument doesn't work. Just last month in the UK...
The question was very specific.
I'm answering your question.
How many of them blow themselves up?
Okay. Let me answer your question in this way. A Polish immigrant was charged with the rape and murder of a British student last month. How would you feel if people in the UK started saying, we don't want Poles here anymore. We don't want rapists and murderers here. That's what you say about Muslims. You generalize about all Muslims in the same way that some on the right in the UK generalize about Poles. There's a lot of anti-Polish racism in the UK. Do you not see the irony that you're doing the same thing to Muslims as is done to Poles?
No. First of all, if anyone committing a crime should be jailed. It doesn't matter. Is it Polish? Is it English or anyone else? That's number one. Crimes which you mentioned are not committed in the name of Allah.
What's that got to do with
the Polish side?
I thought we were talking
in the
about
name
security.
of Christ.
Who cares?
They are just criminals.
We're talking about
and
security threats. But why not?
That's number one.
Why not generalize?
Two,
why shouldn't British people generalize about Poles? You're generalizing about Muslims. Not all Muslims are terrorists, as you know.
But most terrorists are Muslims.
That's not true, as you know. In fact, that's not actually true. Most of the far-right terrorist attacks in the US this year were from far-right Christians.
If they committed a crime, they should be.
In this very next segment, Taczynski is challenged on his previous statements about Muslim terrorists. Mahi Hassan tries to catch him in a contradiction by bringing up the Christchurch shooting, a terror attack committed by a white nationalist.
It's funny you say most terrorists are Muslim. This year, one of the worst terrorist attacks that we saw was in New Zealand.
Not Christians,
carried out,
mostly not believers.
One of the worst terrorist attacks this year, one of the most high profile, was the murder of more than 50 Muslims in New Zealand by a Christian far-right white supremacist.
Yeah, and he's jailed. That's it.
So what? So Muslims are jailed as well? What's your point? Should I blame all white Christians for what that man in New Zealand did?
My point is that the difference between our reaction after the New Zealand was condemnation. I do condemn that, everyone condemning it. After the terror attacks, we can hear from imams. That's the reaction. They are happy,
as you know.
and they want to kill all the infidels. So that's the difference between Western civilization.
Imams across the world did not applaud terrorist attacks.
You can just Google it. Just Google it.
Okay, you can Google also the Charlie Hebdo attacks.
Okay, you say this is a lie.
It is a lie to say all imams applaud.
News. I didn't tell.
Okay, let me ask you this question.
You've got hate preachers.
There are hate preachers, indeed. That's not all imams, though. You said all imams clapping. Let me ask you this, Dominic. After the Charlie Hebdo attacks, you had the King of Jordan.
There you go. You don't have hate preachers in the Christian churches.
That's not true either. After the Charlie Hebdo attacks, you had the King of Jordan, the Prime Minister of Turkey, the Foreign Minister of Egypt, the President of the Palestinian Authority, numerous leaders from the Muslim majority world literally marched through the streets of Paris in solidarity with the non-Muslim victims of those attacks. I don't remember seeing you or any other member of the Polish government marching in Christchurch, New Zealand, in solidarity with the Muslim victims of that attack. I don't remember seeing you marching in Christchurch.
All this solidarity, candles, and all this painting on the floor, it's a joke.
But where was yours? Where was your march? I don't remember seeing your march in New Zealand. Dominic, I don't remember seeing you and the Polish government marching in New Zealand. Answer that. Why didn't you do what Muslim leaders did and march in Christchurch?
We don't need marches. We have our borders, which are safe.
That's got nothing to do with the question. A Christian far-right nationalist carried out an attack in New Zealand. If you're saying Muslims should condemn a Muslim attack, which they did, why didn't you go to New Zealand and condemn that attack? Why didn't you march like Muslim leaders did in Paris? Why didn't you march in Christchurch?
If you think that these Muslims, these preachers, these imams are so peaceful, let them go to Saudi Arabia, let them go to Qatar. If you want to be a refugee, you have to flee to the first safe country, neighbor country. Then you have to apply, you have to prove who you are. And now we are having people in Europe, Poland is not a neighbor of Syria, without documents or with 5 passports, the same picture and different names. That's just a fact from our interior ministers. So it's all about safety. You are trying to put the whole subject in a box of Islamophobia.
As we move into the next clip, the conversation turns to culture and identity. Tazinski firmly believes that Poland's Christian culture is worth protecting and isn't shy about saying so.
Let me go back to my question, which you avoided answering. The Christchurch shooter was an immigrant. He was a Christian. He was a white nationalist who killed Muslims. And he had on his weaponry references to a battle in which a king of Poland defeated Muslim invaders. He had the name of a Polish military commander on one of his weapons. So I ask again, why didn't you, according to your own logic, go to Christchurch and disown him? Say this has nothing to do with us, nothing to do with Poland or Christianity. That's what you expect of Muslims. Why didn't you do that in New Zealand? I ask again.
Well, thank you very much. Thank God for King Sobieski. He stopped Muslims in Vienna. Thank God
That's
for
what
King
the
Sobieski.
terrorists
That's
said as
number
well,
one.
by the way.
But I'm not going to react on any idiot who is trying to use our king and beautiful history for a terror attack.
And why can't Muslims say the same? Do you not see the illogic of your position?
If not King Sobieski,
You're basically
Muslims
saying
took
what every
over
Muslim
Europe,
says about
nobody,
Muslim terrorist attacks.
invited them. Not at all.
Okay. I got to ask the question, though, and I want to talk about the broader cultural point, because you have said in a previous interview this is about culture. This is about preserving Christian culture in Europe. I'm saying to you, white supremacists have carried out horrific terrorist attacks this year in El Paso, Texas, San Diego, California, Christchurch in New Zealand. And they have talked about stopping mosques, stopping the invasion of Muslims, protecting Christian culture. It's virtually the same language that is used by your party and by you. There is an overlap. We can see that with our eyes. It's the same rhetoric.
No, the difference is we are not shooting. If someone is a terrorist or killer or a criminal, should be jailed.
You're not shooting, but are you inciting the violence by using that rhetoric of invasions and stopping mosques?
Do not compare me to the criminal.
I'm comparing your rhetoric, not you. I'm saying the rhetoric is similar, is it not? Or are you denying that? It sounds like you're agreeing.
First of all, as I said, it's against our law. That's number one. It's against our culture. And the culture is very important. As I told you, we are a Christian country. We don't want hijra in Poland. We don't want Poland being taken over by Muslims, Buddhists, or someone else. For us, Christianity as identity, as our DNA, is very important. And our government has the right to say no. And no one will ever force us to take Muslims, Buddhists, non-believers in huge numbers. But we are helping by sending money because our government is very straight. We have to help in the place of the conflict in Syria, in Iraq. That's it. Do not force us to do things which our society doesn't want. That's why our government was elected. That's why we have won.
He makes it clear that Poland has the right to reject mass migration in order to preserve its way of life. According to Tazinski, the stakes aren't just political, but also cultural, and for him, that's a battle worth fighting. In a podcast appearance, Tazinski defended Poland's immigration policies, highlighting the country's low Muslim population and emphasizing Poland's history of peaceful coexistence with other faiths. He stressed that the turning point for the country was in 2015, when mass migration from Muslim-majority countries began. Poland's response to this influx was the construction of a border wall inspired by former U.S. President Donald Trump. Tazinski made one thing crystal clear: anyone crossing Poland's border illegally would face serious consequences.
What percentage of Poland is Muslim? Just search that. And if you can do it on Chrome, not on Apple, if you type in what percentage of Poland is Muslim, it would say 0.1%. You're one of the lowest Muslim population countries in Europe. Why is that?
Well, first of all, I think the main reason is that we never agreed for illegal migration. That's number one. But we have Tatars in Poland, very beautiful Muslims who helped us to fight during the war. They never caused any problems. The problem started in 2015 when migration started from Muslim countries. That's why they called me Islamophobe. It has nothing to do with Islamophobia. This is just a fact that from 2015, millions, not hundreds of thousands, millions coming to Europe were coming from Muslim countries. So that was a wave of Muslim illegal migrants. And we knew and we know that this is a hybrid war, organized by Putin through Belarus. So if someone is asking me how is it possible, it's very simple. We built the wall. That's number one. Mr. Trump was inspiration. Then very sad thing.
This is the $1.9 billion wall with the Belarus, like 18 meters high.
That's right.
Like, can you pull this wall up that they built? It's
That's right. So that was the first decision when the crisis started. Then, unfortunately, one of our soldiers was killed with a spear by one of illegals, and our parliament passed the law that we can use live bullets now. So if you want to come to Poland, you will be killed. I'd like to probably, some of them will watch this interview. If you don't want to be killed, do not come to Polish border. If you don't want to be pushed back, do not come to Polish border, because we just passed the law that our soldiers, Coast Guard or whatever, they can use live bullets to kill. That is the difference, because I can see the difference between, let's say, Heathrow Airport,
Right.
Miami International,
Sure.
when you're trying to cross the border without passport, what they would do? They would shoot you. If you would try to run through migration, right, customs, they would shoot you. So what is the difference between Miami International, Heathrow, or any other place, airports, and the green border, where they're trying to go, they're trying to come through the forest? So now Polish forces services are allowed to use live bullets.
In a segment with YouTuber Tyler Olivia, Tazinski takes him to the Belarus-Poland border wall, educating him on the distinction between genuine refugees and illegal migrants.
Dominik Tarczyński. Does he know you?
Yes, but you have to say your name.
I see.
There's no jokes. That's why
Okay.
I think they're professional. They know their job.
No ja lepiej by było, bo to też dla posłuchania spokoju, nie? Że oni później nagrywają, widzą, kto tutaj wchodzi, kto nie wchodzi. No.
Tak?
No tak, nie wiadomo, kto się wczai w krzakach, no. Także jest to dla własnego bezpieczeństwa.
So he says if we don't have a mask, for us it's not good to be there, because they are recording Russians and Belarusians. They want to know who's into the subject, who's interested in the border protection. So for our own safety, we don't have a mask. We shouldn't enter because it's not safe. It's a war. It's not a joke.
So we'd be in the database.
Yeah.
And is this largely contested right here? Are people trying to go through this?
Right. But that's
Much shorter compared to this.
It was thousands of them.
Thousands
of them in one day. They're trying to force Polish border, and they lost.
Okay.
We stopped them. It was, I don't know, maybe 10,000 of them. A lot. So a lot of things going on at the moment.
Look at that. That's closed right there. People are trying to get over this.
Straight away. So I'm proud. I'm proud to be here, to see these soldiers and to see their service and to see the wall. Because when I see the wall, I do understand that this is for my future children, for my future wife, for my future family. I would say to every single leftist, if you don't believe that this is war, come and see. Come and see.
Let's say I'm from Syria. I want to go through this wall. I break through the wall. What happens to me next?
You're killed. Dead.
Shot.
You will die like a...
Tazinski acknowledges that Russian and Belarusian forces are closely monitoring the border situation. He describes the ongoing struggles, with thousands attempting to cross illegally daily, but being stopped by Polish forces. Tazinski expresses pride in the wall, seeing it as protection for his future family. He challenges leftists who question the wall's purpose to witness the situation firsthand. When asked hypothetically what happens if someone breaks through the wall, he responds bluntly, they would be shot. While Poland has welcomed millions of Ukrainian refugees, Tazinski draws a firm line against illegal immigration. He emphasizes that his stance is not anti-immigrant, but about maintaining order and keeping Poland safe. Tazinski contrasts Ukraine's genuine refugees with illegal migrants, underscoring that while Poland supports those fleeing war due to its proximity to Ukraine,
joining me now is Dominik Tarczyński, who's a Polish member of the European Parliament. You just saw in that video. Dominik, it's great to see you tonight. Now,
Thank you very much for
the
having
EU decided that this refugee welcoming was very important and a positive development for Europe, all of Europe. And they look down on people like you and Poland in general for its decision to say, no, we have to support and protect our culture, which does not include, the Wahhabist Islamic outlook and Wahhabist policies and traditions. And you say?
We don't care. Well, there's a difference between refugee and migrant, especially illegal migrant. As a lawyer, I'm trying to repeat it every single time for years now. They are not refugees, they are criminals. Those who are trying to cross the border illegally are criminals, and as a criminal should be deported, and there is no discussion about it. Our policy is very straight. Zero. Not even one, never ever will come to Poland if it's illegal. If he's trying to cross our border illegally, he will be punished and deported, not welcomed as we heard. We're not going to pay for them. We're not going to fit them in the beautiful rooms in the hotels or anywhere else. They will not stay on Polish soil. They will not stay in Poland. Poland, as I said in the parliament, and I'm trying to repeat it, Poland is the only country in the European Union without any terror attack. We haven't had any terror attacks in Poland because there is no illegal migration. That's why every single time I'm trying to say, be like Poland, be brave, believe in your own nations. But most of these spineless politicians in here in Brussels are destroying their own countries. I must say, Mr. Trump was right about the wall. He built a beautiful wall. Can you imagine America now without a wall? Poland built a wall. We have a great wall, and no one is able to enter. No one is able to come to Poland. And as we promised, our government promised in 2015, not even one will come to Poland ever.
Well, Dominique, you will continue to support allowing Ukrainian refugees, genuine refugees, into Poland during this war, correct?
Well, you have to remember that our situation is completely different than America and Americans. We are a neighboring country with Ukraine, and by the international law, those who came to Poland, over 2 million, mainly women and children, are honest, genuine refugees. But our law was changed for some time to support them financially, support them with education, with healthcare, and all they need to live in Poland. But for many reasons, recently Mr. Zelensky seems very ungrateful, I must say, and our law might be changed. We don't have to support them with all these benefits, like financial support. We don't have to do it. We wanted to do it. We decided to do it, but we don't have to do it anymore. And I think our contracts, while ended, will not be extended.
He firmly states that Poland has a zero-tolerance policy for illegal migration and that those who attempt to enter illegally will be punished and deported. He also highlights that Poland is the only EU country without any terror attacks, attributing this to its strict policies on illegal migration. Tuzinski praises Trump's wall and argues that such measures are essential for national security. He reiterates that Poland will not allow illegal migrants to settle or benefit from public services, insisting that the country must remain vigilant in protecting its sovereignty. Tuzinski affirms Poland's continued support for Ukrainian refugees, acknowledging the legal obligation due to their neighboring status. However, he notes that this support may change if Ukraine's leadership continues to act ungratefully. He hints at potential changes in Poland's financial support for refugees, emphasizing that while the country willingly offered aid, it is not obligated to do so indefinitely. For Tuzinski, the equation is simple. No illegal migrants, no terror attacks. He maintains that Poland's success in maintaining safety and security is due to its unwavering stance on illegal immigration. Tuzinski has carved out a unique space in European politics, standing firm on his beliefs. Whether he's challenging EU migration policies or defending Poland's sovereignty, he speaks with conviction and shows no sign of backing down. The question remains, does Tuzinski's approach to immigration resonate with you, or is it too extreme? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you want to see more politicians standing firm like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with others who should see Tuzinski in action. After a Polish soldier was tragically killed by a migrant, the Polish parliament passed a law permitting the use of live bullets at the border. Tuzinski issues a stern warning: attempt to cross Poland's border illegally and you may be shot. He draws a parallel between illegal border crossings in Poland and airport security measures in places like Miami International Airport, where unauthorized entry could result in deadly consequences. This strict approach is justified, according to Tuzinski, as protecting the nation's sovereignty and security. In a segment with YouTuber Tyler Olivia, Tuzinski takes him to the Belarus-Poland border wall, educating him on the distinction between genuine refugees and illegal migrants. Tuzinski acknowledges that Russian and Belarusian forces are closely monitoring the border situation. He describes the ongoing struggles, with thousands attempting to cross illegally daily, but being stopped by Polish forces. Tuzinski expresses pride in the wall, seeing it as protection for his future family. He challenges leftists who question the wall's purpose to witness the situation firsthand. When asked hypothetically what happens if someone breaks through the wall, he responds bluntly, they would be shot. While Poland has welcomed millions of Ukrainian refugees, Tuzinski draws a firm line against illegal immigration. He emphasizes that his stance is not anti-immigrant, but about maintaining order and keeping Poland safe. Tazinski contrasts Ukraine's genuine